Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I need to get my ass to Mars.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Total Recall, which came out in 1990, inspired by the short story We Can Remember It For You Wholesale by Philip K. Dick, written by over 40 different writers, including Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett, and directed by Paul Verhoeven. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, Doug Quaid. He works on Earth, but he really wants to head to Mars. But on Mars, there's terrorists fighting against the corporation there, mining the giant pyramids. Doug finds himself involved in a situation where he may be the good guy or the bad guy.
Get ready for the big surprise. You are not you. You're me. No shit.
So, Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett, they'd actually written this before they'd worked on Alien.
Yeah.
And they knew when they'd written this that there was no way in the 70s that this would ever get made. Like, there was no way a studio would have the budget to make this. There was no way the technology for the special effects would be available to make this. So they kind of sat on it for a little while. And in that time, the script bounced around studio to director, and at one point it ended up with Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
And they'd hired Patrick Swayze for the lead role. They'd constructed all the sets in Australia.
Wow.
And then Dino De Laurentiis' company went bankrupt. All the sets were scrapped. Everything was let go of, including Swayze and everything else. And but Arnold Schwarzenegger had already heard of the script of Total Recall.
Yeah.
He wanted it, but they were like, Dino De Laurentiis said, Arnold, never. This script and you, incompatible. It's not going to happen, so no.
Wow.
And but Arnie was like, but this script, I feel it. It's for me.
Yeah.
And so the moment the company went bankrupt, he went to a different studio that he was working with at the time and said, buy this script now.
Yeah.
Buy it and hire me. We're going to make that film now. And at the moment they went and purchased it, within a couple of hours, he was on the phone to Paul Verhoeven, like, you know, remember me? We spoke once. I really wanted to be in RoboCop. RoboCop's amazing. You make the movies I want to be in.
Yeah.
Come and direct this film. Paul Verhoeven's like, yeah, all right then. and the rest, as we know, is history. But it's not to say that this film had its share of complications.
Yeah.
Like I said, the biggest point, or the biggest issue for the makers of this film was the third act. It's the reason why Dan O'Bannon lambasted the production, because he was like, you took my script and you butchered it. You turned it into a brain-dead action gore fest when it was supposed to be a deep philosophical, look
Dan,
into...
Yeah, we get it, Dan.
It was also, you've changed the comedy and did this and this, so it's understandable that it's not what he wanted, but
Yeah.
Ronald Shusett was really excited with the project and like celebrated the conclusion that they decided with the third act of the film, which wasn't the original case.
Yeah.
But of course, production was not going to be in Australia this time, but they moved it to Mexico. And Mexico has like got one of the smoggiest like cities in the world.
Yeah.
And literally only 2 people survived not getting sick in the production of this film. They had ambulances on the set every day. They had to fly people to hospitals with helicopters whilst making this film because everyone
No
got
way.
sick from the water, from the food. The only reason why Arnold didn't get sick was because he had his own chef and food being flown in from America to feed him. And then Ronald Shusett as well, who was taking vitamin shots every week and brushing his teeth with bottled water. There's so many fascinating stories in the making of this film that you could literally spend a day looking into it. And because it was such a massive hit when it came out, one of the most expensive movies ever made at the time, it's a fascinating film to explore.
I also read as well, didn't Arnold like control like 90% of the movie?
Yeah, it was him and the directors, combined, that they collaborated and worked.
So he was able to decide who goes on the poster. He was able to decide where his name goes in the title, how much he's getting paid.
When the
how much
studio was
everyone else
advertising
getting
the
paid.
film, Arnie looked at the trailer and went, "That's shit. You need to do a new trailer.
Oh, man,
you
do
need
it
to
properly.
fix this."
That shit. Do it properly. I'll be back.
Taking the cigar out of his mouth.
Yeah, just burning money.
There are stories that from the set of this film that Arnie was literally smoking his cigar the entire time. Like in shots of close-ups, he'd literally just breathed out a smoke, and the cigar is still burning in his hand. You just wouldn't know it.
Man, this movie, like, I've always got fond memories of Total Recall simply because of the late Saturday night Arnold marathons that used to be on TV. Your Terminator, your Predator, your Total Recall,
Running Man,
and it's really crazy that Total Recall, I do think, out of all of Arnie's movies that he made from mid-80s to mid-late 90s, Total Recall is the rare gem out of all of them, where he's not just a bumbling idiot, muscle-bound hero who's just going to kick the crap out of everything. Don't get me wrong, I love Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
I love who he is in that. But for this one's like a really thought-provoking character. And that, I think that comes from Dan O'Bannon, the original story. In fairness, I mean, Dan O'Bannon's standing there saying, "You butchered my story. You stole it from Philip K. Dick."
Right, well, yeah.
And so let's throw the whole plagiarizing thing under the bus there, because we just needed a film. And like you said, during the 70s, there's no way you could have tried to get this made. The simple beginning of the set of Mars, it's like a 1950s Roger Corman wet dream there. These two astronauts just walking out, looking at the horizon of Mars. They're in love. You don't really know what's going on up until Arnie slips and falls down this hill and cracks his shield on his face. And I never really knew what was going on at first. It took me a while to realize there's no air on Mars, so he was suffocating, and his eyes are popping out his fucking head. The special effects right off the offset.
Well, should we talk about Rob Bottin already?
Should we?
I mean, it's surprising that Rob Bottin even got the job, because Rob Bottin obviously worked on RoboCop with Paul Verhoeven, and they had massive arguments over and over and over, and it was only when the film was finished that they both sat back and shook hands and went, "Yeah, we both did it."
That was amazing.
Like, despite all of the issues we had making it, look how good it is. And so Paul Verhoeven was like, "If I'm gonna do this, I need Rob Bottin back."
The best special effects in the business.
Exactly, and that is what you get. Although the Mars miniatures were done by a completely different team.
Yeah.
The effects by Rob Bottin in this are absolutely fantastic. From the mutants to the fat lady. I'm sorry, she doesn't have an actual name. She's called the Fat Lady. To arms being severed. There's so many awesome effects by Rob Bottin, and like the miniature team. Like, even the CGI, there's a sequence when he goes through an airport later on. Yeah. And it's one of the first uses of CGI in film.
Well, I was going to say, like, we start off with Arnie waking up, and he's in bed with Sharon Stone. Oh, 1990s Sharon Stone.
It's before Basic Instinct.
Oh, man. And they are married, but there's something not right about the relationship. You immediately from the offset, it just doesn't seem right. And through the news, watching Ronnie Cox on the news, Cohagen explaining about Mars, the troubles on Mars, terrorists, this freedom fighting group are trying to stop the corporation from mining the giant pyramids, and all the alien artifacts that are in there. And Quaid is this massive draw to go to Mars.
Lori,
Doug.
let's do it.
Do what?
Move to Mars.
Right? He's just seen all these people getting killed on the news.
Let's go.
And he's like, "Let's go." It's like, what?
And I'll get into it a bit later on, because I got really confused. This is like the billionth time of watching it, but I'm really studying it this time. And I'm like, why? What is drawing him to Mars? Even Sharon Stone's like, you will hate it. We're not going. We're not. And he leaves to go to work, and he walks through the little security area, which for 1990s, that special effect of the 3D of the skeleton, as he's walking through. And then he gets onto the train, and he sees an advert for Total Recall, the corporation. They will embed memories into your mind, which I think is completely wrong. Something's definitely going to go wrong there. But those memories will be of you on holiday in this place. And so Quaid goes to work, and he talks to his buddy, and his buddy's like, "Don't go there, dude. Seriously, there was a guy who got lobotomized. They'll kill your brain." So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so people are trying to stop him from getting to Mars.
One person is his friend, who gives him
And his wife?
gives him the stink eye, kind of, after he tells him. He's looking at him like, yeah, you better not be going there.
Yes, that's it. But then when he gets to recall, he just goes, okay, yeah, I'm going to go there.
Right. Well, I mean, this guy playing the salesman, he's one of the best TV film salesmen of all time.
Yes.
Like, he sells it wholesale, really. And Arnie's even said it's his favourite scene in the whole movie because of the concept of it and the idea of the sales pitch and how he's like, we've got something new for you. It's called Blue Skies on Mars.
Yes.
You're going to be a kick-ass, infiltrating, super double agent. You're going to kill the bad guy, get the girl, and save the planet. It's like, that sounds like a holiday of a lifetime.
Now, pardon me for questioning, but everything he has just put into this program is going to happen in the movie.
Well, including choosing like the bust size of his like dream girl.
And so when the scientists start to freak out and they call the boss in and they say to him, "Look, we've had to just inject him with all this fucking sedative because he's literally been to Mars. Somebody's already erased his memory." I start to question if everything from the point where he went under is real.
Well, that's the. I mean, when I first saw this film, it never even occurred to me to question it. I was just like,
Yes,
like, it was just like, no, this is all what's happening right now is all real.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of it's real. But it's only, as I grew up and rewatched it, I was like, oh, it's quite smart. It is trying to give you the split choice as an audience as to whether, the first 20 minutes is the only reality of the whole film, and the rest of it is just all the holiday.
Because it's very Blade Runner-esque with these questions that I have at the end of watching this for the millionth time. Because he has his freak out moment. The scientist explains that he's already had his mind erased, so they need to re-implant the memories that have already been put in there and forget about this trip to Mars and throw him into a cab. And when he wakes up, like when you explained this to me weeks ago, I totally did not believe you, but Robert Picardo as the Johnny Cab. Like, this was future tech to me. Why have we not got Johnny Cabs? I mean, I know we've got Ubers, but it's not the same.
We've got self-driving cars.
Why can't we mix the two? Self-driving Ubers.
I want to be driven around by Robert Picardo.
I need Robert Picardo. But he gets back to his... Quaid gets back to his block, and I do like the outside shots of. We don't really see much, but you've got the future streets of, I don't know, future LA or whatever, and his buddy stops him from work, and he's just like, "You blabbed, Quaid! You blabbed about going to Mars." So I'm like, okay, these guys have been set here to deal with Quaid if he decides to go back to Mars. But he's secretly supposed to go back to Mars?
Well, we don't know that yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, even if he has or hasn't had his memory erased at any point in time,
right,
he's still got the attraction to want to go to Mars, despite all the violence that's going on there.
Yeah.
So something is compelling him to want to go there.
Yeah.
But odds are it's, forgotten, repressed memories, but...
But he takes out all these guards, and it's a great fight sequence. I like the fact that it's not just Arnie beating people up. He's got some skills.
Yeah. But he almost seems surprised that he's able to do it, which again leads to the belief that this is all the holiday. This is all the memories, because he's just, just easily takes them all out when he's, and unassuming. He doesn't walk on at the beginning of the film like, I'm the action star, does he? It's kind of like a surprise.
But that's the crazy thing, because he's built like a brick shit house.
Well, yeah.
Like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're looking in the mirror like, huh.
Yeah, no, but they don't go full commando with him in this film, do they?
No. But it does, it sets up, because when he comes back to his wife,
just to go back to like the original idea, which is why the role was to Patrick Swayze, which was a much more unassuming kind of clerical, like average build looking person, instead of going for this kind of macho bravado, like Olympian, and that's why Verhoeven was like, well, if we've got Arnie, then that's why we need gore and we need blood and explosions, and because it's an Arnie movie now.
It's an Arnie movie, yeah. And he heads back to his apartment and meets up with his wife Laurie, and explains to her like, look, I'm being chased. I went to recall. They mess with my mind somehow, and she tries to kill him. And so, now you're really believing into the fact that obviously everybody is trying to kill him and stop him from going back to Mars. And when we get introduced to Michael Ironside's character Richter, that bit kind of freaks me out as well, because it turns out that Laurie is his wife.
Or lover, to some extent, yeah.
Yeah, and she's being assigned, because all these people are agents.
Yeah.
You know, they're all agents assigned to stop Quaid from wanting to get back to Mars.
Does it seem a little bit fantastical?
Yeah. to the point as well where, like, they find, we find out that Cohagen, Ronnie Cox's character, is actually involved in the whole thing. And he's even surprised that they're trying to kill him.
Right.
He's like, no, leave him alone. They're like, yeah, what? No.
He needs to die because of the information he knows.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what information? What does he know?
But that's it. And Ronnie Cox is like, no, leave him alone. It's fine.
I do have a problem. Like, I mean, you're so invested in the film, you're so in for the journey right now that it's like a massive oversight. But if you're a bit of a sci-fi nerd, you'll look at this conversation between Earth and Mars that's happening, like, simultaneously. You're like, no, like, that would require, like, the transmission to be sending faster than the speed of light.
Dude, it's the future.
Yeah, still, like, you need to, in that case, they must have broken the laws of physics.
Yeah.
To be able to do it. But, I mean, this film has many, many oversights. Like the beginning intro sequence, I know it's a dream, but it will come back at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Like Mars, it's like minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit, like minus 60 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
You'll freeze to death instantly. There's no time to, have eye-bulging spasms.
Yeah, it's 1990. At this point, we thought velociraptors didn't have feathers.
Yeah, it's true.
You know,
it's true.
time said
How much we've learned.
Yeah, I love the whole idea of the sci-fi-ness, because the more you put in front of me and the less you explain, the more I go, oh yeah, I completely accept that, because it just goes along with it. Like they don't have any laser guns in this. All the guns still fire bullets.
Right, yeah.
But they're all just weirdly shaped guns. You know, you have that whole shootout where he gets onto the train and then he races off to his own hotel. And it's funny that when he gets to the hotel, Quaid walks in and immediately gets a phone call from somebody he doesn't know with a suitcase containing all of Quaid's information.
Right.
And you're like,
does it seem a little bit far-fetched to you?
No, we know that he's got a tracker in his head because Richter and his team are tracking him.
They got that giant Casio tracker.
Man, it's the cars that I love. Like, how big windscreens do you need?
Right.
Tiny wheels, giant windscreens. And they're tracking him, and obviously he wraps the towel around his head to block out the signal, and then he races outside, grabs the case, jumps in the Johnny cab.
There is an old lady that cracks me up every time I watch this. She calls him a fucking asshole.
It's the way he bows after.
It's the way he bows after. Yeah.
Thank you.
Find your own bag!
Excuse me, ma'am, but I need it.
Fuck you, you asshole!
So bad.
And he jumps into the Johnny cab and race off. Now, talking about the gore sequences, like there was that poor guy on the escalator.
I know, I was going to bring this up. I was like, because it's something that you don't really pay much attention to. But yeah, there's this poor slob on the escalator in front of Arnie who just gets shot to shit. And Arnie uses him as a human meat shield. And when he's done with it, he throws the body at the guys chasing him.
I always believed that guy is dressed as fucking Jack from American Werewolf in London, because he's got a pack on his back and he's wearing like a flannel top, but the way that the blood squibs just kind of explode all over him, and then Arnie takes out the guys and then throws the body at fucking Michael Ironside. I'm like, that's amazing. He has like
our hero, ladies and gentlemen. But because it's Arnie, you almost just don't care. It's just like, that's what he would do.
When he gets to the warehouse, he starts to talk to himself. He starts to talk to Carl Hauser.
I was going to say, it's a pre-recorded video, isn't it?
Yeah, and Carl explains that he worked for Cohagen on Mars, and he retrieved all this information regarding the alien artifacts and the alien pyramids, and if Cohagen and the rest of the people get hold of this information, it'll be bad. So you need to keep the information and get it to the freedom fighters on Mars.
Now this is the plan. Get your ass to Mars.
And so you're like, okay, so yeah, he's totally the good guy. You know, he's found this information and he wants to save all of the people being oppressed on Mars. But you not only you have the iconic line, you got to get your ass to Mars from Arnie.
Get your ass to Mars.
But I just love the whole sequence where he's got to stick that thing up his nose.
Yep. It's one of the most memorable scenes in the film. It really is, because like the horror of that thing, especially when you see the clamp opening before he inserts it.
Yeah.
And then of course, I mean, we've seen enough Arnie puppet heads to know.
Like how good special effects are that you can make Arnie's head look like that.
It's just, yeah, it's complete with the Arnie noises. But it's great, a really great effect.
Yeah. And I love the fact that he sticks the little tracker in the chocolate and races off to get to Mars.
Yeah.
And then you get the comedy routine where Victor and his crew are chasing this rat.
Now, this film, you know, it had budget reasons. They went over budget, and there was supposed to be the entire sequence of leaving Earth and going to Mars.
Right.
But they just couldn't afford to do anything there.
Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars.
You know, when they shoot the place up, having the looping line of "Get your ass to Mars,"
Yeah.
"Get your ass to Mars," and like that wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But they couldn't afford to show, you know, the flight to Mars, which, you know, so when we do cut to Mars and we see a couple of ships landing, that is it. And at the same time, again, that's when you go, the film makes it feel like this has happened within like 5 hours, like catching a bus. Like, it's going to take you 5 months at the quickest to get to Mars. Like,
Well, the advert doesn't sell it like that. There's an advert
I know, the
where
advert
the guy
makes it
says,
feel like,
hey, you know, you
I
can
know,
just
but it
fly
makes
that.
you go, well, what's the technology that's helping you do that?
I always believed, at this point when I first watched this movie, I was up there with Blade Runner. So, like, Arnie is in the Blade Runner universe. So
Yeah.
technology is super advanced. They've got plasma drives. You know, even though we don't see it. Same as, like, Paul Verhoeven did kind of the same thing with RoboCop. It was the future, but not. You know, it's still 1986.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Detroit.
Ed 209s and the big bang bangs.
Yeah, but you fully believe it. You know, it doesn't give you a date, so you just go, "Oh yeah, it's 23XX." I totally accept
Well,
that.
that was the thing, that he wanted to set this as far in the future with a date in mind, because he didn't want it to be like Blade Runner, where when it gets to 2012, you're just like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Where's
I
the
know,
flying cars
where's
at?
the flying
He didn't
cars?
want the Back to the Future syndrome.
Man. But when he gets to Mars, I mean, you gotta love this whole sequence. You know, we don't get it at first, but Richter is talking to the local captain of the armed forces, played by the actor who does Gold to Cut in DS9. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, they're discussing about, obviously, the rebels attacking, who Quato is, you know, and how they're trying to keep their eyes open for Quaid. And you get this, well, as Gary explained earlier, this fat lady just walk up and she just delivers the iconic 2 weeks line, which it's just, that is atypical Arnie's. If I'll be back 2 weeks is right up there. You know?
We've got a car to take.
So how long do you plan to stay on Mars?
2 weeks.
Have you brought any fruits or vegetables onto the planet?
2 weeks.
Excuse me?
But I love watching it this time. I was just like, why does this happen? You know, the guy says to her, how long are you staying? 2 weeks. Have you brought any vegetables? She repeats 2 weeks. And what was his whole plan here? And I realized that he must have planned for it to malfunction.
I don't know.
Because
I don't know. I just think it just malfunctioned and he just didn't, he kind of panicked.
yeah, because that's how I immediately look at it as well. Because
It's because of what happens at the end of this scene. It makes you go, did they program that? Or what? It just makes no sense, but it's awesome.
Because he leaves everything. He takes the head off. You know, you watch it come off in those little sections. He puts it back. He throws it to the people, the armed guards, and it explodes.
Yeah, but it doesn't just explode. It says, get ready for a surprise. And I'm like, so did they make it to just say 2 weeks and get ready for a surprise? Or what?
Well, this is it. We don't know how long it's been since he got his stuff, but he must have, right, I'm going to buy that robotic head, and if it malfunctions, I'll program it to explode. Okay.
Get ready for a surprise.
I just want to say the head piece as well was a really awesome effect.
It is. It's brilliant.
Rob Bottin, of course, used that effect, you know, animatronics and everything else. He said when the finished thing was done, it was so heavy, even Arnold couldn't pick it up.
Wow.
And of course, when you see the mask opening up, you get to see another Arnie mask behind that one, and you're like, that's another Arnie dummy face. But it's so quick, you might miss it.
Yeah. And we get Richter just being, a complete idiot again by shooting up the glass dome of Mars. Which
You'd think, like, if they're going to have all the security and weapons and guns and freedom fighters and warfare on Mars, you'd have better glass.
yeah. Because he kills like 3 or 4 guards that way. Arnie manages to escape. And then he gets angry at Golda Cat. By Golda Cat explaining to him, look, you've just broken the glass. We've had to shut the shutters down. We could have killed us all. And Arnie makes his way to the hotel to retrieve the information to send him to the local strip club.
Yeah, he needs to go and find Melina.
Yeah.
And that's where we really get to see. I mean, like, the whole of Mars looks like a cross between a strip club and a factory anyway.
Yeah.
There's just half-naked people everywhere. There's, it just seems like there's bars and just people just living rough.
Yeah.
But that's, the whole class system that's been set up by Cohagen, who really just doesn't care for all of these. He treats them like homeless people.
Yeah, he's charging them for air.
Right,
and
right.
So that means they have to work in the mines, but they found something in the mines which has now turned people against them. Because you've also got mutants.
Which is all because of the flimsy protection of the radiation.
Yeah.
So they're all mutating.
And it's just like, okay, I get that. These are the innocent people. Cohagen's the big evil guy. But it's when he's met up with Melina, and Melina recognizes him as Hauser.
Right.
As Carl Hauser. So you then get the idea that, okay, so he's already been there once, then he's had his mind erased, then he's been sent to Earth. And he's been obviously trying to be stopped coming from Earth. But now he's coming back to try to find the rebel freedom fighters, who he believes Melina's a part of, which obviously she is, because that's how the movie's going to go. But you have that amazing sequence when he gets back to his hotel room and he's confronted by the doctor from the advert.
Yes.
Of Total Recall. Well, from the Recall advert.
Yeah. And it's probably another one of my favourite sequences, because it really, it adds a level of intelligence to the movie.
Yeah.
When it is sometimes criticised for just being a dumb action film.
Yeah.
How smart it is and how it does make you think, and how the Doctor describes what's happened and literally explains to him all of the events that are about to incur in the film, including the walls of reality coming down, because literally the walls of this apartment will collapse when the drills come through. He literally describes all the way up to the end of the film what's going to happen, verbatim.
The walls of reality will come crashing down. 1 minute you'll be the savior of the rebel cause, and the next thing you know, you'll be Cohagen's bosom buddy. You'll even have fantasies about alien civilizations, as you requested, but in the end, back on Earth, you'll be lobotomized.
And so you're like, but because that one bead of sweat pours down his face, it's enough for Hauser, Quaid, Doug to believe that he's lying, because he's panicking, because he's sweating, which means he's lying about me being in the dream world, therefore I'm going to shoot him.
Yeah.
Because this is reality now. And so, it's enough to make you question, like, but by the end of the film, because that doctor said everything absolutely as it was going to happen, because, like, he knew the dream.
That's what I was going to say as well. It's like, I've seen this movie 1 billion times, and this point has always been, 9 times out of 10, the point of the movie where I go, it's all real. It's not a dream. But then when I was watching it this time, I was like, but if it's like the Matrix and he's already in the dream and this guy's in the dream as well, then he would sweat if he was worried, if he was being sent in from the outside, because now you've just killed him and the outside version of him is dead.
Well, no, is the outside version of him dead?
I don't know, dude. This is
Has he just been lobotomized?
Because Laurie it turns out that she's super evil as well, and this is all still, they are actually on Mars and he is part of this agency, and he and a bunch of guards take Quaid down, and they start to take him to the elevator, and Richter's just like, yes, we'll come up and save you. And then Melina comes out of the elevator with that goddamn machine gun. And she was a good actress. I mean, I did like her in Falling Down, but I like her and Sharon Stone. I think I see Sharon Stone as the better fighter in this sequence. I don't know, like, if it could be all stunt doubles.
One of the
for all I
main
know.
things, all the main thing that Paul Verhoeven wanted in this was that not to be a cat fight. He
Yes.
wanted them. He wanted some martial arts. He wanted to at least up the game of having two girls fighting on screen.
Yeah.
And it does feel fairly staged a little bit, but then
yeah.
but then you're looking at this whole film and you're just like, it's all a dream, but it's not. But it can get away with it because it may be.
Yeah, I think I would have preferred her to have killed Laurie off. But instead you have that line between Arnie, you know, consider that a divorce, you know, and with her dead, Richter is fucking crazed now. You know, this is his wife or his girlfriend or whatever. She's been murdered by the guy that she was supposed to murder, but that's not the point. And they chase Melina and Arnie to the giant glass window, and they jump on the glass window, and Richter's buddy's just like, no, you'll kill us all, and he holds him back. And they meet up with Benny again, I believe, at this point.
Yeah, the cab driver.
Yeah, oh man, Benny the cab driver.
I got 5 kids to feed.
And you know, you've had some great dialogue with him, and he's kind of like being the third, I suppose, for this little tricycle.
The comic relief.
Yeah, the comic relief. And they get to the bar, and all the patrons of the bar, I think they're all part of the Freedom Fighter Network, because they literally rush Melina, Benny, and Quaid into the secret wall, close it off. Richter and his buddy come running in, and it just turns into a fucking riot.
Kill them all!
Yeah, it's sad. You know, we didn't bring her up a little while ago, but you know that the 3-breasted lady, it's just, you're gonna remember her, and it's kind of sad. She gets shot in the back.
She gets shot in the back.
And then lots of people get shot. Like, people are just stepping out of doorways and taking bullets.
Yeah.
You know, again, the film was criticized for being uber violent and the body count being really high. But then when you look at the way these squibs work, or the way these people fall when they get hit, it's almost comedy. It really is just played up.
To the point, like, Richter's buddy with the glasses, he gets stabbed by the little dwarf lady.
Thumbelina,
you know, she'd had these little comic moments, because it's a whorehouse. You know, you got all these different women with 3 boobs. That's pretty fucking awesome. But they shut off the section, you know. Cohagen's just like, look, we're going to shut the section down. We're going to close off the air. We're just going to kill them all. And I'm like, super evil. Or that's super Ronnie Cox evil.
Right. It's that awesome moment where he's talking on the computer terminal and he's like, but they'll run out of air. And he's like, fuck them. It's like, yes.
Don't do anything.
But they won't last an hour, sir.
Fuck them.
OCP,
You know?
man.
Man, imagine if you took the evil version guy from Halloween 3 and took him with Ronnie Cox. They'd rule the world! But we go through, like, the lost mines of Mars now, you know.
Well, we got Quaid gets taken to see Quado.
Yeah, but we're going through the old burial grounds, aren't we, underneath?
Yeah.
You know, this is the old tunnels. These are the people who were building the colony first, and this is where they were buried. And then they get met by the freedom fighters. And we'd seen Marshall Bell before, earlier in the movie, as kind of like a work colleague, I suppose, of Melina. But he gets revealed as Quato.
Yes. And the effect for this is amazing. You know, I only, until recently seeing it on Blu-ray,
Yeah.
I always thought it was Marshall Bell in the background, in the shot.
Oh.
But it's a full puppet, head to
Oh,
toe
wow.
puppet. And it was the only way in order to be able to get the electronics and the puppetry to work was for the whole thing to be a puppet. And I was like, wow, like on VHS or watching it on a smaller screen, it just looked like the actor there. And I was like,
Because
that
he moves.
is yeah, exactly.
He moves as well.
And I was like, it's Rob Bottin. Like, the man's a bloody genius when it comes to effects. So why am I not surprised?
Yeah. It's great in effect, and you get introduced like to the crux of the movie. You know, Quato knows about the reactors, or he retrieves the information from Quaid's
they're
mind
psychic,
regarding the reactors, and he helps Quaid understand about unlocking the power of the reactors. But if you hadn't got to realize at this point, they get attacked again. Because there's a betrayer amongst the group, Benny, and the drills come through the walls. Guards are just coming through and just shooting all the rebel freedom fighters left and right, and Quato, Quaid, Benny, and Melina all chase into the airlock, and Benny turns out to be the backstabber. You know, we had that great, you know, I got 4 kids to feed. I thought you had 5. Ah, shit, man. You got me. But Benny had been revealed as a mutant. You know, the whole sequence with his arm,
an awesome effect.
Well, yeah, but it tries a little bit too hard sometimes. The movie tries a little bit too hard to go, hey, look, this is going to help Quaid. And you're like, no, it's not. Fuck off. You know, seriously, the last 6 or 7 people tried to help Quaid, and they were either dead or they fucking evil.
Start the reactor. Free Mars.
This is the point I brought up at the beginning of the review, was Ronnie Cox meets Quaid and Melina, and, you know, Richter's there, and he basically explains to us that this was all a ploy. Carl Hauser, Arnold Schwarzenegger's original identity, found out about the reactors and purposely had his mind erased and sent to Earth so that he could come back to Mars, find the leader of the resistance, and kill him.
Yeah.
I have to hand it to you. It's the best mindfuck yet.
Even though he tricked himself into believing that he would be a freedom fighter to help overthrow Mars, that was the lie, in order to help him get to the freedom fighters to find Quato, so they could kill him, and then hopefully take him back and turn him back into Hauser.
And not be killed by Laurie or Richter or the guys that he worked with on Earth.
Yeah, all the loose cannons.
And was the advert placed there? When he saw the recall advert, was that all part of Cohagen's plan, so that he would go to recall and have his mind?
It all seems just a little bit.
Know, that's it. Because why would you go to recall? You know, would you not put him somewhere where there isn't a recall, just in case he accidentally has his mind fucked up? He could have died in the chair. But, you know, it's an irony movie. This was all a ploy. And, you know, Quaid doesn't want to be Hauser. He wants to be Quaid. He believes, and that's quite cool. You know, it was played again when Arnie did The Sixth Day,
right?
Where he was another clone.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, no, I want to be the person. I love this whole sequence as well, where he's in the chair and they're trying to erase his memory and Melina's memory, and he rips that thing off the arm and stabs the guy in the face with it.
Yeah, it's rough. And then he ends up grabbing like a pipe and then wedges that through the other scientist's face. So you just see him for a second just flailing.
Rob Bottin again, mate. You know,
genius.
Just use heads. We need exploding heads all over the place.
Kill him.
It's about goddamn time.
And so now it's the basically the final action sequence, the running around. He's trying to get to the reactor, and we didn't mention the little toy gizmo that he got earlier in the film, which is like a holographic projection watch.
Yes,
which he utilizes here brilliantly. Although he uses it at one point to distract them and then kill them all. But there's a sequence where he steps out in front of all of them, and he's just and they all shoot at his hologram, and he goes down. And I was like, surely they would have all killed each other because they were shooting at a hologram. Because there's another sequence where they shoot the hologram and they shoot each other. I was like, what's going on here? Richter is basically one of the last gunmen left. He's trying to escape, but Arnie jumps for him on the elevator platform. They wrestle for a little bit. Richter gets thrown off the side as they're going past a junction, and he gets his arms torn off. And it's just
epic,
absolutely epic.
See you at the party, Richter.
Michael Ironside deserves a glorious death scene.
That's it. Like when people say, like, what makes a movie good? Michael Ironside. You just need a little hint of Michael Ironside dying or doing something evil or just grunting.
Mixed with Ronnie Cox, you've got the best villainy of ever.
Yeah, because Arnie now explains to us, Quaid explains to us, like the whole core of Mars is ice. And that these alien reactors are there so that if you activate them, it'll melt the ice and it will burst oxygen into the atmosphere. And I totally buy this. you know, because why not? You know, I've bought everything else up to this point. I might as well buy alien reactors.
The only thing it's hard to buy is the fact that it can, you know, give an atmosphere to Mars in less than 30 seconds.
Hey, Genesis could do it in less time. I bought that in Star Trek 2.
Star Trek.
Fucking, you know, I'm totally going to buy this. And they have this...
Aliens just kind of left a reactor here so that they could put the turn an on-off switch for the planet. It's like, what? Sounds very much like a dream.
I love the fact as well, the hand symbol as well. I think after this movie, I was always doing that with my hands, like being an alien. And he activates it, and he gets sucked outside. Ronnie Cox gets sucked outside. Melina gets sucked outside. I mean, they get sucked out this. Why would you have that giant head right there? You know, leading to the sewers of the fucking...
Well done, aliens.
And we'd already seen Ronnie Cox. He's died. He's died from going outside while there's no oxygen. But while Melina and Quaid are almost dying, all the air is being spurted out. It saved all the people.
Luckily, it blasts all the windows out.
Blows all the windows out. You know, it's now changed the living equality for the rest. It's brought peace to Mars.
It brought blue skies to Mars.
Blue skies.
Oh, wait a minute. That sounds a little familiar.
And that's when you get Arnie at the end, and he's just like, what happens if this is all a dream? And she's like, well, you know, and they start making out. And then the movie ends, and you're like, is it?
Well, there's two major clues there at the very end as well, and having it fade to white was a clue, and also having Jerry Goldsmith's music reuse the Dream theme tune ever so slightly.
Oh,
so using the Dream music fading to white instead of black was Paul Verhoeven saying lobotomy. But it's still down to interpretation. You can still reject that if you want to. It's one of those Blade Runner things where it doesn't matter too much. The idea is there, and the conversation starts there. It's interesting.
Because, like we said, if Paul Verhoeven's going to say, look, at the end of the movie, it's all a dream, then why have that scientist halfway through the movie and have the realization that actually it's not a dream? Because that does throw you askew.
Yeah, there's clues both ways.
But at the same time, it's... like we said, it's not your atypical Arnie movie that makes you think and go, oh, this is how I want to see it.
But could you imagine, like, we just cut this now, like, could you imagine we've got Arnie's kissing the girl at the end, it fades to white, and then it cuts to Arnie, like, going, "Blah," in the chair. It's like, then the credits. It's like, what?
Silent Hill 2? Silent Hill,
get the bad ending.
You know, got the bad ending.
I can't believe it. It's like a dream. What's wrong?
I just had a terrible thought. What if this is a dream?
Well, Iain, what were your favourite scenes from Total Recall?
Oh, man. I think, like, practically the whole movie is... some of the dialogue sequences are unbalanced to some of the cheesy action sequences that you get. But at the time it was filmed, the generation that Arnie was at this point being filmed by somebody like Paul Verhoeven directing Arnie, you know, you can find a healthy balance with it. You know, the sci-fi epicness right from the start with him walking on the surface of Mars and then walking around the city through the security stuff, the Johnny Cab, you know, the holographic watch, the alien reactors. I fucking love all the sci-fi shit. I saw Arnie travel back through time as a cyborg. I'll fucking take anything. You know, some of the dialogue sequences really do work. Like him having the conversation with himself at the warehouse, you know, and looking at the suitcase, trying to figure out who he is, all the way up to the opposite conversation where he has with himself with Cohagen, and he's, you know, his evil self's like, ha ha ha, this was you played right into our ploy, and I'm like, no, he's gonna defeat you all. And the lady with the 3 breasts, Gary.
Yes, must be acknowledged. I'll start with that. Lady with the 3 breasts. The security checkpoint when they get to Mars. The lady with the 2 weeks.
Yes.
The nose, pulling the tracker out of his nose. Just all of the shootout sequences, just, you know, people getting shot left, right, and center, getting stabbed. All of the mutants, all of the effects were amazing. The Johnny Cab, the story, the twists and the turns. Arnie making all of his classic noises.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many favorite scenes. Literally, I can't really pick one. The whole film is a favorite scene, which is why it will be really easy to recommend.
Yeah.
Do you recommend it, Ian?
Yes, I'd totally recommend Total Recall. Easy, Gary?
Yeah, without a doubt, I'll be recommending Total Recall. It's a must-watch. It's a top-tier sci-fi action masterpiece. It's some of the best work from all involved. One of the best Arnold movies. One of the best Paul Verhoeven movies. One of the best soundtracks from Jerry Goldsmith. It's really packed with great action. It's got a punchy script and memorable scenes and quotable dialogue with twists and turns in the narrative to keep you coming back to this film over and over again. The practical makeup effects, miniatures, early CGI, the mutants, the explosions, the props, weapons, vehicles, the entire wardrobe, sets. The team outdid themselves with making the world seem real and believable, with only a fair few effects starting to show their age. And that's the only negative I have for this film, a few aging effects. You know, watching this film today, it's as good, if not better, than the first time. It's a true classic in every sense, a must-watch film. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Open your mind. Open your